Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Overnight, once Trump friend Marjorie Taylor Greene, ex-congresswoman, dropped a bomb. I'm talking about a bomb that was heard in Iraq. This woman said that Donald Trump, your president, did one of the most despicable things one could imagine. Yeah, I'm not going to even let the cat out the bag, fam. I'm going to let y'all hear it from the horse's mouth. Check this out.
Are realizing MAGA is dead. And do you want to know who took the actions to kill MAGA? It was the creator and the founder himself, Donald Trump. When we started talking about releasing the Epstein files, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. President Trump will just roll them out on a big cart himself. And I learned that the president didn't want to release the Epstein files. He told everybody, don't release the Epstein files. And I got a phone call from the president. And he said, Marjorie, you're gonna have to take your name off that discharge petition. He said, my friends are going to get hurt. To actually be asked by the president of the United States to back off and not help these women, that's when MAGA died. And then I heard back from Donald Trump. And I've saved these text messages. I'd probably get put in jail if I released them publicly, but I saved them. Where Donald Trump proceeded to tell me that it was my fault. If my son gets killed, I deserve it because I was a traitor to him. After we got the president elected and after what seemed to be setting our country on the right course, we had Donald Trump, J.D. Vance in the White House. That's where they are now.
And this is where she totally blows it, right? This is what lets me know she really hasn't changed. See, there's two glaring things that stand out here. One, she only came forward because it was happening to her now. Now a threat is being made against her son. She's been making threats. She's been enabling Trump with his threats for the longest. But now that the threat is aimed at her, there's a problem. And now she wants empathy. Two, as we've all known for some time now, Donald Trump does not do well with leaders. He does not do well with people who have their own mind, who think for themselves. So all of these people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who decides to think independently, have an independent thought. You know, you can be somebody who follows, but at the same time have independent thoughts, or you can be someone who is just totally a flunky. And she appeared to be a total flunky for a while, but then all of a sudden she had a thought and she said, well, this is one of my convictions and I'm sticking with it. I don't care. Even for somebody like that, it takes a lot for them to cross the line dealing with a Donald Trump type, because you know retribution is coming. You know that. So she crossed the line. She had an independent thought. Some of the other ones who have left the MAGA movement. She had an independent thought, and it cost her some career equity. One might say it cost Charlie Kirk his life. This doesn't mean he was a good person. This doesn't mean that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a good person. She's about to tell you in her own words why she's not a good person. Check this out.
Took control of the House and Republicans were in the majority in the Senate, I thought for sure we were about to accomplish the great campaign promises that we made to the American people for years. The campaign promises of no more foreign wars and no more regime change. the campaign promises of bringing back American innovation and industry and small businesses, the campaign promises of dismantling the Board of Education, the campaign promises of finally holding the deep state accountable, locking up he's not a doctor, Anthony Fauci, right? Holding accountable the J6 committee that destroyed people's lives. Holding accountable the U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves that horrifically prosecuted people that walked in the Capitol on January 6th and destroyed their lives, is responsible for multiple suicides.
Let me remind you, fam, that the J6 committee was a committee formed to punish people who try to overthrow the government. Something like that is usually punishable by death. She and the rest of them had a problem with the committee that was formed to hold those who tried to overthrow our government accountable. So she ain't changed. Oh, she said that Fauci needed to be arrested. Yeah, absolutely. He's a horrible person too. But again, she's picking and choosing. She has selective outrage. She's picking and choosing. She also, she didn't say anything about the DEI, right? She didn't say anything about that. And there's some other things. I don't want to give it up. I'm gonna let her keep talking.
Holding responsible for the bad guys that Donald Trump told us about constantly for years and years of Russiagate and all these other things, but the deep state. Stopping FISA 702, spying on Americans, the good stuff, right? All the things that Republicans had campaigned on, the things that they were asked about and talked about on Fox News 24/7, the things you read about in email fundraising letters that you received, text messages, and on and on and on. I thought, okay, we're about to do this. I was so excited. I was probably the most excited. I was so excited, I wore MAGA hats on the House floor. That's how excited I was. Things were going pretty good the first quarter of 2025. We were making some momentum. I had finally seen some of my Republican colleagues in the House have more courage than I'd ever seen them have. It was really funny to me. I was quite amazed that every single Republican I served with who actually hated Donald Trump and used to tell me to their face they hated him were all of a sudden coming up to me, showing me proudly their MAGA hats that he had signed and the great gigantic coin that the president had given them, because Donald Trump has everything bigger and shinier and more gold than anybody else. So his challenge coins were the biggest. So I watched this drastic change among House Republicans. And then in 2025, the first quarter, we were actually doing it. We were passing some legislation that needed to be passed. There was much hope going forward. But then all of a sudden, the momentum slowed down. And as we approached going into the spring and the summer, we started getting some bills.
Okay, fam, enough of this mumbo jumbo. Let me give you some of the things that Donald Trump did in 2025. She said that in the first quarter, everything was going just fine. She was like, yeah, we're getting there, just fine. First quarter, 2025. Let's start with the economic impact. Tariffs on Mexico and Canada, along with new duties on Chinese goods, led to rising costs for American consumers and businesses. Inflation concerns grew, and unemployment hit a 4-year high. Hey, but things are going pretty good. Government recognition, reorganization and cuts. The administration launched the Department of Department of Government Deficiency, otherwise known as DOGE, leading to thousands of federal employee layoffs, hiring freezes, and attempts to dismantle or restructure agencies like the IRS and USAID. USAID. Early actions included, this is the Immigration and Border Security. Early actions included initiating massive deportation efforts, ending birthright citizenship, and starting a crackdown on sanctuary cities. And we know how that turned out. Innocent American people were killed. Policy and personnel. The administration faced criticism for issuing controversial pardons and appointing political allies to key positions, leading to decreased trust in government institutions. So his whole cabinet is full of incompetent people, people who have no skill, mostly no skill at all whatsoever in the positions that they hold. They got rid of people who had years of experience, some decades of experience, to get with people who were just fresh out of college, who had zero experience. But what they was experienced in was kissing ass. And that's why Trump put them on his team. You heard Marjorie Taylor Greene talk about how so many of these people who hated Trump were now showing off their new coins and showing off their MAGA hats that he signed. Rubio, Hegseth, what's her name? You know what I'm talking about, fam. But so many of them that are in his cabinet that got key positions right now were sworn enemies to him. But once he put them on his team, they flipped just like that, which further illustrated how easily these people can be bought. So healthcare and social services. He proposed budget cuts targeted health services, social services, and public media, while healthcare costs for households began rising. Healthcare costs for households began rising. So this is what happened just in the first quarter, and not to mention how he fired air traffic controllers and all of those planes that were going down in the first quarter because we had no air traffic controllers. Remember that? The media don't even talk about that. Why do you think that is? They won't even talk about it. The media don't talk about that at all. They don't talk about all of those lives that were lost. People were killed as a result of his actions. They totally undermined the safety of passengers. People died. Nobody talks. Do you understand what I'm saying? They don't talk about it anymore. Just like they do not talk about all of the people who died during COVID. When Trump got on board late, when he kept saying it was a Democratic hoax, he kept saying, he kept like acting like COVID was not a big deal. So he was late to respond. And people died. Hundreds of thousands of people died. But they don't talk about that. There's blood on his hands. The media don't talk about that at all. We're talking about the Epstein files, and that was tragedy. You know what I'm saying? It was tragic. Epstein files is tragic. What about all those people that died, those hundreds of thousands of people that died? And many of them died alone because if they were in a hospital, you couldn't go see them. They wouldn't allow you inside. And now I know why they wouldn't allow people inside, because they didn't want us to see what they were doing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is a traitor, but not to Donald Trump. She's a traitor to the American people. She's a traitor to goodness. She's a traitor to this so-called God that she prayed to. I wouldn't trust her as far as I can throw her. No more talk.